So this is going to be reaction to the Monday night wild card playoff football game between the Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that just happened. So much hype matchup, just a super. So this is going to be reaction to the end or the get. So this is going to be reaction to the Monday night wild card football game between the Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The game just finished. Cowboys ended up winning this game 31-14. It wasn't really even that close. This was a much hyped matchup. I mean, everyone was talking about this game since the moment we knew this was going to be the matchup. I mean, you got the Cowboys, America's team versus Tom Brady. It was just an unbelievable spectacle and something that was just nonstop talk throughout the day, obviously, and the whole week leading up to this game. But this game ended up being pretty one-sided in the Cowboys' favor, obviously. Like I said, that final score doesn't really indicate how one-sided it was, pretty much. Didn't really start off that way, as the first few plays of the game, it ends up being Cowboys go 3-and-out on their first two possessions. Tampa Bay also went 3-and-out on their first two possessions. It was like, uh-oh, we gonna end up getting like a 9-6 final score, something like that. But then Cowboys really started to turn it on and played well offensively to go with how well they were playing defensively. And specifically, you got to mention Dak Prescott when it comes to this game. That's the first name you got to mention. Dak Prescott, this was the best game of his career. The guy has always been pretty inconsistent when it comes to playing better teams. And now, Tampa's in the playoffs, but they are 8-9. But Dak Prescott in this game, after those first few drives, this guy just lit it up, man. He made plays with his legs, threw the ball well, 4 touchdown passes, one great touchdown run where it's kind of a misdirection play. The guy was unbelievable, and it was definitely the best game of his career and almost a legacy game for him. Actually, in a way it was, just because how many people can say that they beat Tom Brady in the playoffs, even if it is the kind of team that Tom Brady was on right now. So Dak Prescott was unbelievable, a game that he definitely needed after the really sort of hazardous finish that he had to the season, leading the league in interceptions and that final stinker he put up against the Commanders in Washington. But, for Cowboys fans, this was just unbelievable to watch. And something a lot of people didn't see coming, just because the Cowboys are just kind of a Jekyll and Hyde team, even though they were 12-5. And, me rooting for them, hoping that they can get this win. I was just like, man, just seeing them go up against Tampa and how many games Tampa has pulled out of their butts this season. It was just like, man, I don't, I want to believe, but I don't. But they really showed why they were, I guess, statistically the better team compared to Tampa this year. Like I said, Cowboys 12-5, Tampa 8-9. They didn't go over to the Tampa Bay side of things. And Tampa Bay, this game showed that they were 8-9 for a reason. They won their division, which was probably the worst division in the NFL this season. I mean, and it won a division with a below 500 record. Look at the other competition in that division, obviously not great. But people still thought that, you get Tom Brady into the playoffs. This is obviously the time of year that he plays for now. The only reason he plays is to build his legacy in the playoffs and keep winning championships and all that kind of stuff. And you just figure with Tom Brady, and you saw those games this year that they were able to pull out their butts, that maybe they could do something in the playoffs and make a real run and be scary. Turns out they were anything but scary. As the Cowboys continued to keep scoring and torch Tampa's defense, the offense wasn't really doing anything. They finally got Ryan Jensen back, who had been out the whole season. But in terms of the pass protection, it was okay. Brady didn't take too many sacks towards the beginning, but they just couldn't offensively. The passing game just wasn't there. And I say it wasn't there. Tom Brady ended up throwing the ball like over 60 times or something like that. Crazy numbers. And, offensively, they're just so one-sided. Can't run the ball, aren't very consistent in the passing game anymore. They were just, it was just an ugly performance for them. And like I said, the game was out of reach. I mean, it was a freaking, it's a 24-0 game or something like that before Tampa scored a touchdown. The only reason why it wasn't a larger deficit is that the only thing the Cowboys did wrong was that their kicker, Brett Maher, I've never seen a more horrific start to a football game than a kicker, or a more horrific game in general. I mean, he missed his first 4 extra points. And even you saw the reaction from the players, and Dak Prescott just threw his helmet, just saying, "What the fuck, man? Come on, you are just killing us right now." And he was killing the team. He's lucky that those misses were just like extra points and not costing his team an extra 3 points for a field goal attempt. So that was something right there. He did finally make his final one, but at that point, it didn't really matter. The game was well sealed. It was even funnier watching the Manning cast reaction to see it. That was hilarious. So that was just a terrible game from him, and he had missed a point in the Washington game too. So really bad time of year to get the yips when it comes to kicking, because in the playoffs, that's no bueno. So let's see if he gets his act together in the next game for the Cowboys against the 49ers in San Francisco. But if he doesn't, I think if you see that game and if he misses his first field goal attempt or extra point, then you're going to see the Cowboys going in the direction of not settling for field goals and obviously 2-point conversions if they do score. But then obviously, you finish this game, it's like, all right, Cowboys, great stuff, going to the next round. With Tampa Bay, the big question is obviously when it comes to Brady. This was definitely an uncharacteristic Brady season in terms of the team record. His first time finishing below 500. I mean, that's amazing to say after 20 plus years of playing, but first below 500 season. He ended up, his play wasn't the best. Obviously, it's probably, definitely one of his lesser seasons. Obviously, he had a lot going on in his personal life with a divorce with Giselle and all that kind of stuff. But even then, throughout the season, he just showed those moments, like I said, that he's still ultra clutch when it comes to being in the right situation. Those games that he had against the Rams, the Saints, the Carolina Panthers, he had some great clutch finishes. But this game, it was just a little too much to overcome. But the thing is, and obviously there's a question when you're a 45-year-old quarterback, are you going to keep playing and all that kind of stuff? And that's obviously what Aikman and Buck were talking about towards the end of the game. But from everything you hear from Tom Brady, it doesn't really seem that it's going in the direction that this was going to be his last game. You know, I think it's going to be his last game in Tampa Bay. I don't really think he's long for Tampa Bay. I think he's going to look elsewhere. I think that's kind of what he was looking at when he tried to retire this past off season, the quote unquote fake retirement, whatever. I don't think he's long for Tampa Bay. I think he's kind of had enough. I think he's just kind of like, you know what, there's probably better opportunities elsewhere. It's kind of the same thing like what happened with LeBron. When you're an all-time great, once you leave a team for the first time, then it's all like, well, I as well leave a team again and keep pursuing opportunities. And for Tom Brady, obviously now, if he's going to keep playing, obviously it's for the love of the game. He wants to be in a position to win. So there's some teams out there that could definitely be some major sort of ideal landing spots for him. For me, the top three, and I think in most people's eyes, you look at it, you go Miami, you go the Las Vegas Raiders, and you go the San Francisco 49ers. When it comes to Miami Dolphins, that was already a tampering charge where he tried to go there in some kind of player/ownership role. They got great weapons with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And with Tua being as unreliable he is physically, and he can stay in Florida, that'd be a good spot for him. With the Las Vegas Raiders, get to reunite with Josh McDaniels. You got good weapons on the outside with Renfro and obviously Devontae Adams. That'd be a good fit. Great spectacle too, seeing Tom Brady in Vegas. What might be his last year. That was pretty cool. That would be pretty cool. He was that was a potential landing spot for him a few years ago when he was in a free agency, but it didn't quite end up working out. And then obviously San Francisco, best roster in the NFL. If you put Brady on that team, they'd be a juggernaut. Although you do have to wonder they're already a juggernaut right now with Brock Purdy. And with how Brock Purdy's playing, just saw his first playoff game and they've won 6 straight with him. What would really be the point of disrupting that? You could really mold Brock Purdy to be the next Tom Brady. Would you really want to stunt that process? So that's one that might not be as open as it might have been towards the start of the season. I know Brady probably would love to go there and be a part of that roster, but if they're doing what they're doing with Brock Purdy, then hey, why not stick with him instead of the 45-year-old quarterback? So I think for Brady, I would put my money on Las Vegas as the next option for him. Just reunite with Josh McDaniels, the weapons on the outside, the spectacle of playing Las Vegas. I think it would be a great way for him to go out in terms of what would be his final season. Although I do have to say, watching Brady in this game, just kind of watching him all season, you do have to wonder at one point, at one point is enough. 45 years old, 20 plus years in the league, obviously his resume speaks for itself. I was just watching this game, be like, man, is Brady really going to put up with this kind of stuff again next season? Forget if it's not in Tampa Bay, but just another season in general in the NFL when it comes to, what if things don't quite go right? Is he going to be there physically? How's he going to hold up? Because he is a 45-year-old quarterback. And there's a reason why he gets rid of that ball as quick as he does, because he don't want to get the hits. And that's why sort of the deep shot game for Tampa Bay was just pretty bad, just because Brady's getting rid of that ball super quick and all that kind of stuff. So, with Brady, it's not a slam dunk for him in terms of playing next year, but I do think it's more likely than not. But I just don't think it'll be in Tampa Bay. But, he had a great run in Tampa Bay in terms of winning a championship. Obviously, he made that team super relevant, 12-year playoff drought. Great stuff from Tom Brady. I mean, obviously, it speaks for himself. So that's him. But as for the Cowboys, unbelievable win, a win they definitely needed. But it's not over yet. For me, as a Cowboys fan, and like I said, obviously the goal is to win a Super Bowl. But for me, it's just like, just get to an NFC championship game, please, because that is just such an embarrassing stat that they have not been to an NFC championship game since the 90s, when there's so many other teams. Pretty much every team in the NFL besides them has done that. But it's not going to be an easy task, because now they're going to the team I mentioned, the 49ers, and they've won 10 straight, been an absolute juggernaut with Brock Purdy. It's going to be a much different game for them compared to what they did against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Buccaneers, obviously a horrible running team. That's quite the different story with the San Francisco 49ers. You combine that with their defense, their roster, their talent, how well Brock Purdy's playing. Yeah, it's going to take just as good an effort against Tampa, probably more so, just because of how dominant the 49ers have been the last 10 games. So we'll see that, but that should be another unbelievable matchup coming next Sunday. So can't wait for that. And so concludes Wild Card Weekend. Unfortunately, in the Monday night game, it was a big spectacle leading up to it. Unfortunately, it was a blowout, so you didn't really get sort of that like pop and wow. But Cowboys versus Tom Brady, America's hero versus America's team. I'll take it. It was still fun to watch, even though I would have liked to have seen a better game. But oh well. So there's Wild Card Weekend. There's my reaction to Cowboys Buccaneers. You made it to the end of this video. Thank you for watching.